During prenatal education, I found my brother sucking my nutrients, so I kicked him. The system activated on the spot and rewarded me with 10 villain points. From then on, I beat my brother every day in the womb and kept at it after birth. In 3 years, I saved over 30,000 points. Others cultivate through talent. I cultivate by beating up the chosen one. This isn't brotherly love. He's my personal human ATM. It's over, game over, story finished. I curse the heavens in despair. Is this how you screw people over? A few days ago, I was still working my ass off, making screws so the boss could marry his mistress next year. Then, out of nowhere, I got recycled and became a baby growing stealthily in the womb. It took a few days of gathering info to realize this wasn't my original world at all, but a fantasy realm called the primeval wilderness, where demons and monsters coexist, immortals and mortals mingle. The mighty ones split mountains, part rivers, summon wind and rain, and shake the 9 provinces with a single word. I thought a nobody like me, so plain even dogs wouldn't glance back at me on the street, wouldn't survive 3 episodes in this world. But the surprise came too soon. My old man turned out to be the head of the Qin family. The Qin family, the first family of the primeval world. Experts are as numerous as clouds, and geniuses emerge in droves. With such a strong background, one could walk sideways in the ancient wasteland. There's nothing that can't be solved by calling out dad, and if that fails, just call out mom. My birth mother also has an impressive origin. She is the saintess of one of the 3 sacred lands, White Jade Immortal Mountain. If calling on mom and dad doesn't work, the family also has 10 patriarchs to rely on. As long as I don't provoke those freaks with plot armor, I can do whatever I want. Protagonist? That's just from reading too many novels. I started to think I was overthinking things. How could there be such cheaters in the real world? Generations of hard work outdone by a brat's lucky encounter. How ridiculous. But the next second, I couldn't smile anymore. That day, my never-before-seen birth mother, as usual, drank a bowl of carefully prepared immortal liquid from the Qin family. This liquid had magical properties that strengthened a baby's potential. The more you drank, the stronger the potential. To ensure I was ahead from birth, the Qin family even used secret arts to delay my birth by 100 years. 97 years had already passed, just 3 more years, and I would be born. But this time, before I could absorb it, the immortal liquid's energy was sucked away by something. It was unsatisfied and began frantically plundering the energy inside me. My spirit instantly wilted, more exhausting than 20 days alone with my girlfriend in my past life. It was then I realized I wasn't the only one living here. There was a terrifying little creature right beside me. If it kept sucking like this, I'd be dead in a few days. What kind of monster is this? I was terrified. I wanted to get away from this monster, but the space was so small there was nowhere to escape. I could only watch helplessly as my internal energy was drained bit by bit. Just then, a voice suddenly rang in my mind. Ding dong. Detected an epic level chosen one. System activation. So this monster was the protagonist. I was stunned, like an old bro, feeling inexplicably panicked. As everyone knows, the protagonist family is a high-risk profession. Either they get killed off to kickstart the plot, or they become sacrifices hindering the protagonist's growth. Even if they manage to survive until the end, they'll be repeatedly crushed by fate, physically and mentally exhausted, unable to rise again. As if to confirm my suspicions, I actually saw the protagonist halo attribute on my younger brother, an epic protagonist halo, rare once in 10,000 years. Lot bonus ay 9,999, comprehension bonus ay 9,999, potential bonus ay 9,999, charm bonus ay 9,999. Family reincarnation rate 50%. Note: when facing a life or death crisis, the halo will activate additional bonuses. The additional effects are as follows. Luck additional bonus plus 99.99 plus. Comprehension additional bonus plus 99.99 plus. Potential additional bonus plus 99.99 plus. Charm additional bonus plus 99.99 plus. Family reincarnation rate 99.999%. Holy crap. Is there no justice? Is there no law? I couldn't help but curse, letting out a screech like a groundhog inside. Obviously, I'm the transmigrator. So how did my younger brother become the protagonist? What does that make me? The villain? Ding dong. Detected that the host is a destined great villain. The universal, super, invincible villain system has been successfully activated. The air suddenly went silent. A huge holy crap popped in my mind. Being the twin brother of the protagonist is already dangerous enough. And now I'm supposed to be the destined great villain? Isn't that like carrying a lantern to the toilet, looking for crap? At the same time, I also had to think about what to do from now on. No greed for money, no lust for women, no taking disciples, no founding a sect, be able to lie low and not stand out, dodge when possible and not act tough. Don't provoke either useless talents or geniuses. Don't save beautiful women in danger. And when you encounter people with surnames like Yi, Lin, Chun, Xiao, Chuqin, Wang, Su, Feng, Zhou, just walk around them. And the most important point, never laugh like he in a malicious way. Ding dong. Friendly reminder. Based on the system's analysis of the host personality, you are greedy for money, lustful, boastful, and extremely flamboyant. You fully display the true nature of a man and will never be content to live in seclusion as a self-cultivating, honest person. I couldn't take it anymore and directly cursed, "Holy crap, what the hell are you talking about? Doesn't your conscience hurt saying such things? I've been very caring since I was a kid, okay? When I see the girl next door taking a bath, I kindly help her open the window for ventilation. When I see that old Wong next door is not home, I help him take care of his wife. When I meet a homeless young lady, I give her a warm home. My friends all say I have the qualities of a prime minister, but I just want to be the boy next door, quietly helping neighbors fix their drains." But just after I listed 1/10 of my virtues, the system sounded again. Ding dong. The big villain novice gift pack has been successfully delivered. Ding dong. Congratulations, host. You have obtained the God level aura, Emperor's potential. Ding dong. Congratulations, host. You have obtained the God level technique, 33 Heaven's creation art. Ding dong. Congratulations, host. You have obtained the mythical epic item, max level red-haired old freak experience coupon, Emperor's potential mythical aura. Upon use, you will gain a 10-fold boost to all attributes. 33 Heaven's creation art, mythical technique born from the Big Bang, capable of stealing Heaven's creation. Max level red-haired old freak experience coupon, a mythical epic item. Upon use, you can experience the joy of a max-level red-haired old freak. Suppress all those in the world who dare to claim invincibility or boast of being undefeated. Duration, 24 hours. Cooldown, 10 years. I stared blankly at the item's attributes and suddenly felt that being a villain wasn't so bad. Brothers, come and chop me. No, I was raised on Confucian thought, a proper gentleman who grew up reading the Analects. How could I stoop to being a villain? Just as I was thinking, I noticed that my little brother was still draining my energy. I directly kicked him in the face. Confucius said, "If a gentleman is not serious, he commands no respect. So when a gentleman gets serious, he must strike hard. Otherwise, he won't establish authority." But after that kick, instead of behaving, that jerk actually punched me back. Damn, this guy is definitely not worth keeping around. My rage bar instantly maxed out, and I activated the Great Emperor Aura. Ding dong. Great Emperor Aura activated, gaining a 10-fold boost to all attributes. I could clearly feel the change in my body, every part now brimming with power. With a bang, I stepped forward and kicked again. It was on a completely different level from before. That guy seemed to realize the force of this kick and knew I wasn't someone to mess with, so he immediately fell in line. He didn't dare to absorb my energy anymore. Chosen one my ass, just a coward who bullies the weak. I felt nothing but disgust and couldn't help but give him another kick. Ding dong. Detected the host kicking the chosen one. Reward, 10 villain points, 10 villain points. Based on years of novel reading experience, I tried to summon the system shop in my mind. The next second, the system shop appeared in my thoughts, its treasures glittering with golden light bright enough to blind a person's titanium alloy dog eyes. Turtle King Aura Divine Grade. With a crooked smirk, your aura explodes, making men willing to die for you without hesitation and women devoted to you in a polygamous setup. It can drive spirit pets to maddening loyalty, vowing to follow you to the death, and even artifact spirits will acknowledge you as their master for no reason. Price, 99,999 villain points. Darkened Heart Divine Grade. Based on your anger level, combat power can be infinitely multiplied. Price, 99,999 villain points. Sacrificial heaven, law, divine grade. A passive divine skill. When your closest loved one is killed, you can ignite the sacrificial heaven law to gain supreme divine power. Slay gods if they stand in your way. Slay Buddhas if they block your path. Ignores level restrictions. Price: 99,999 villain points. They all seem extremely powerful. As for the price, it would be a lie to say I'm not tempted, but the many ellipses are also real. As a gentleman well versed in Confucian thought, I naturally must learn to overcome difficulties. Confucius said, "Review the old and learn the new." One can be a teacher. You need to practice often. Even if you beat the same person, you can gain new insights each time. One person can be as effective as a whole division. I feel like second brother is getting restless again. I lifted my little foot and kicked him in the face again. Ding dong. Detected the host kicking the chosen one with a foot, gained 10 villain points. Since I was still developing weakly in the womb, I soon grew listless and could only call the system to prepare for cultivating the 33 days creation technique to regain some energy. Ding dong. The 33 days creation technique is being instilled. Rumble. In an instant, a vast amount of information surged into my mind like a tidal wave, and the meridians in my body became clearly visible. The secrets of how the technique operates were imprinted in my mind as if carved, impossible to forget even if I wanted to. Is this technique powerful? I still don't understand the cultivation system of this ancient era, so I can't tell good techniques from bad. I just started cultivating according to the method in my mind. Boom! I immediately entered a meditative state. My mind became ethereal, and the energy around me was sucked into my body like a gale, scaring second brother so much that he curled up trembling in a corner of the womb. The little guy finally quieted down. The matriarch of the Qin family, my biological mother Yunxia, looked at me with full maternal love and gently stroked her belly. The little one inside was being mischievous just now, giving her quite a hard time. Mother suddenly sensed something was wrong. The little one in her belly was actually absorbing spiritual energy and quite regularly, as if practicing some kind of technique. Companion technique. Those four big characters appeared in Mother's mind, and the joy on her face was impossible to conceal. You should know, in the primordial era, techniques were divided into 6 grades from low to high: yellow, profound, earth, heaven, and saint. Divine saint. The divine grade requires comprehending the laws of heaven and earth to create apart from the Creator. No one can cultivate it to the great perfection realm. And the baby in the womb is in a prenatal state. It is said that it can sense the existence of the laws of heaven and earth. Although the baby is still unconscious at this moment, once it starts cultivating, at the very least, it starts with a saint grade technique with 100% compatibility, born to win at the starting line, absolutely a peerless prodigy. This is also why the Qin family spared no expense, using secret methods to delay my birth for 100 years. My baby, you really made your mother proud. Your mother is overjoyed, knowing that my position in the Qin family is unshakable. Even if those ancestors see me, they'll have to respectfully call me a meritorious woman. Soon, several ancestors of the Qin family got the news. One after another, they came out of seclusion to offer congratulations. Just as the ancestors were chattering endlessly, a cold snort suddenly exploded in their ears. All of you get back to training. If you scare the little one, I'll hang you all on that crooked neck tree by the Qin family's main gate and give you a beating. The ancestors scattered like birds and beasts, like naughty kids running into their head teacher, paying respects to the grand ancestor. The mother quickly moved to kneel. She hadn't expected even the second ancestor to come, but before she could kneel down, she was stopped by a gentle force. You are pregnant. Skip the formalities. Take good care of the pregnancy. The technique this child comprehended from the laws is extraordinary, full of boundless fortune. The old man saw the makings of a great emperor in him. The second ancestor did not appear. Only his majestic voice remained. The entire Qin family began to take action. Countless elite disciples and experts were summoned, forming layer upon layer of protection around Mother. Even a passing mosquito would be checked to see if it was male or female. My son has the potential of an emperor. A burly man beside Mother kept grinning foolishly. He was the current head of the Qin family. Also my nominal father, Qin Tian. Stop it. You rogue mother rolled her eyes with playful charm. Father was almost swept away by desire. Wanted to teach me early that spare the rod, spoil the child. But recalling the child's importance to the family, he could only put away the strict father's stick, hoping the little one would understand his father's predicament and come out soon. But I had no intention of coming out, living a routine life day by day, eating, sleeping, and beating on my little brother. Time flew by, 3 years passed. Finally, the day of my birth arrived. The entire Qin family was bustling with activity. All elite disciples were on high alert. It was about the Qin family gaining another prodigy. Anyone suspicious found would be executed without prior approval. Why isn't it done yet? Father paced anxiously back and forth outside the door, listening to the heart-wrenching cries of his wife inside. His heart clenched. The Qin ancestors claimed to have experience. They sat calmly in the courtyard drinking tea, but their eyes occasionally darted towards the door, clearly not as calm as they appeared. Though innate cultivation methods are rare, but the Qin family, as the foremost clan of the primordial era, could still find a few. What they truly cared about was me as a person, comprehending an innate cultivation method while still in the womb, and being born already practicing a divine art that had reached great perfection. Once grown, such a person would be invincible among their peers, equivalent to a nuclear deterrent. No family would ever have too many such experts, especially in a world like the primordial era where might makes right. To ensure the family's lasting prosperity, the more, the better, naturally. They have extremely high expectations of me. Now, I find that my little brother is trying to usurp the throne and become the big brother. In a fit of rage, I kick him aside. Ever since I activated the Emperor's Aura Halo and started cultivating the 33 days creation technique, I rain down punishment on my little brother every day, rain or shine, successfully establishing my authority as the big brother. Now, the little guy just has to sense me move, and he immediately curls up in a corner, trembling, in the daily celestial liquid. I always absorb the best of it first. Only after I've had my fill does he dare to absorb the leftovers. And my villain points, 3 years of non-stop beating on my little brother, has amassed over 33,200 points, just waiting to get out and enjoy a good spending spree. The 3-year period has come to an end. It's time for me to emerge. I can almost see the light ahead. Can't wait to get out. Mom is writhing on the bed, her small hands gripping the sheets tightly, almost driven mad by this little one of mine. With a scream ringing out, Mother finally reached the critical moment, and I was born accordingly, announcing my birth loudly to this ancient world. Born, born. My son Qin Feng is born. Father outside was so excited he was incoherent. The heavy stone in his heart finally dropped. Whether it was fate in the unseen, or some other reason, after discussion among the Qin family, I was named Qin Feng. Ding dong. System detected the birth of the destined great villain. Exclusive cosmic phenomenon arranged. Boom. Suddenly thunder and lightning in the sky. The originally clear sky became covered with dark clouds. The sky suddenly darkened. A strange blood-red moon also appeared in the sky. When heaven shows anomalies, monsters emerge. This cosmic phenomenon proves my son Qin Feng has the talent of an emperor. Father was so excited he laughed up at the sky, as if to announce the good news to the whole world. The surrounding Qin family disciples stepped forward one after another. Congratulations to the family head for having such a fine son. But the Qin family's patriarchs, who should have been rejoicing, stared gravely at the blood-red moon hanging in the sky. Blood moon rises, a monster appears. Blood moon appears, the nation will decline. When vitality is exhausted, it feels like falling into hell. If the moon changes color, disaster will strike. Green foretells famine, and worry red foretells conflict and war. Yellow brings gain and joy, white brings drought and mourning. Black signifies floods, plague, and death. It heralds the weakening of righteous energy in the world, the flourishing of evil, the surging of resentment, and the strengthening of violence, a storm of change. Mountains and rivers lament, the world is thrown into turmoil. Flames erupt on all sides. This child may bring a calamity to the desolate era. The patriarchs exchanged grave glances, but abandoning their own young prodigy was clearly impossible. Since the great calamity was unavoidable, the Qin family would choose to fight. Soon I was cleaned up and brought before my father. This was my so-called cheap father. So ugly, my dream of being a handsome man shattered instantly. Just this big, rough brute. I really wonder if Mom gave birth to a son just to get back at him. But when I saw Mom lying pale-faced in bed, my disappointment was somewhat eased. Her brows were like kingfisher feathers, her skin like white snow. Her waist was as svelte as a bundled sash, her teeth like tiny seashells. She was definitely the most beautiful woman in ancient costume I had ever seen. I figured that my future looks wouldn't be too bad. Living off my face should be no problem. Good. My son Qin Feng definitely has the makings of an emperor. After my old man checked my bone structure, he laughed so hard he couldn't close his mouth. What could he do? My bone structure was simply too terrifying. It was over 10 times stronger than other newborns. Plus, having started unconscious cultivation while in the womb, I was already at the 6th level of the Qi blood realm at birth. Even the prodigy children of the clan at 8 or 9 years old couldn't compare. Just then, the midwife suddenly cried out in surprise. "Oh dear, Madam still has another one inside. It's twins. The Qin family immediately lost their composure. They had always thought she was carrying only one child. They never expected it to be twins. But thinking about it, if the first one is already this terrifying, he had comprehended a cultivation technique above the heavenly rank and triggered celestial phenomena, not to mention being hailed as a prodigy of the great emperor level. As his twin brother, his talent must also be extremely frightening, right? Just as everyone was filled with anticipation, the midwife examined him and shook her head. She said the second one was unwilling to come out. It wasn't that he wanted to prove he had a personality. He was trying to tell them the nutrients he had lost, he would personally take back. He was determined to claim this double room. What did he mean by refusing to come out? The old man immediately lost his cool. He reached out with his thick right hand, grabbed the midwife by the collar, and demanded she deliver the second child no matter what. But the midwife was in a difficult position. She had examined him just now. The second child was still too small, clearly malnourished. If she forced the delivery, it would definitely be a premature baby with congenital deficiencies. He needed at least 3 more years to grow. 3 years, and then another 3. Upon hearing this, the old man completely broke down. He never expected to have to wait another 3 years. But even though he was unwilling in his heart, he had to think about the bigger picture. So he had no choice but to use his secret technique again to delay the second child's birth by 3 more years. I stood by dumbfounded, screaming inside my head, "There's a mole. Show me back in quickly." I could still keep beating up my second brother. Spring passed, and autumn came again. 3 more years went by. I was already 3 years old. I had grown into an adorable little darling with a face like carved jade. With my harmless appearance and the social skills I learned in my past life, I greeted everyone with a smile. I thrived in the Qin family, getting along swimmingly. Whether it's single young ladies or married young wives, they will take the initiative to hug me and give me a kiss. As someone who reads the Analects and is a proper Confucian gentleman, I naturally understand the importance of reciprocity. Every time a young lady kisses me, I will kiss her back, but the system always wrongs me, calling me an old pervert taking advantage, and even gives me 1 villain point. Am I that kind of person? Even if I had the intention, I don't have the tools to commit the crime. Besides, I have my second brother, who is the chosen one. How could I have the mind to think about these things? Ever since my second brother took over the double room, it's like a heifer riding a plane absolutely epic and over the top. Not only has he successfully comprehended the laws of heaven and earth, he's currently deducing his own unique cultivation technique above the heavenly tier. And in the sky, dragon and phoenix phantom shadows appear from time to time, emitting bursts of dragon roars and phoenix cries. It's far more spectacular than when I was born. The entire Qin family is overjoyed. Unexpectedly, one birth produced 2 prodigies, even startling the ancestor who had been in seclusion for years. He personally named my second brother Qin Hao, a man who dared to challenge the heavens before even being born. Faced with such an unreasonable second brother, I dared not relax in the slightest for 3 years, using every minute and second to improve my cultivation. Perhaps in others' eyes, my second brother and I are monsters of the same level. But family knows families matters. In the womb, I never comprehended a companion cultivation technique, only comprehended the path of cheating. That is to say, I haven't reached the state of great perfection with the 33 heavens creation technique. Can't achieve invincibility at the same level. In terms of starting point, I've already fallen far behind my second brother. Don't want to be sacrificed to the heavens or killed later. Must hurry to improve my cultivation. Now, I have comprehended the first level of the 33 heavens creation technique. My cultivation has also broken through to the 9th level of chi and blood. Only one step away from breaking through to the Kaiyuan realm. Open the Dantian to store spiritual power. 3-year-old at the Kaiyuan stage will break the ancient records. Breaking through to Kaiyuan is now. Break for me. I suddenly open my eyes while sitting cross-legged on the bed. Let out a loud shout. Channeled all my spiritual energy to blast my Dantian. Boom! A terrifying collision sound exploded within my body. A dim starry sky appeared in my Dantian. Surrounding spiritual energy surged into the Dantian like a tidal wave, transforming into spiritual power to light up this starry sky, containing a force of endless creative vitality. Huff, huff. I've broken through to the first level of the Kaiyuan stage. I exhaled deeply, releasing the stale air. Tens of times stronger than before, at least. After comprehending the first layer of the 33 heavens creation technique, my recovery ability is far, far stronger than others at the same level. Closer to coveting someone else's wife. No, to immortality and indestructibility. Checking the time, my second brother should be about to be born. I looked up at the moon and murmured to myself. I haven't seen him for 3 years. I miss my second brother more and more. Ever since he hogged the twin room 3 years ago, my villain points would lose their source. Although, according to the system's villain law, bullying others could also earn villain points. But the amount was pitifully small, nowhere near comparable to my second brother, the chosen one. For example, in the 3 years I was taken advantage of by the young ladies and young wives of the Chin family, I only earned a little over 1,000 points of hard-earned money. Far less efficient than beating up my second brother. My foolish little brother, do you know how your big brother has survived these 3 years? Looking at the 4,300 villain points displayed by the system. These are what I painstakingly saved up, not daring to spend a single point in 3 years, for fear that my second brother's family-killing aura would suddenly activate and cause something like the annihilation of our clan. But fortunately, my second brother is about to be born, and I should also strengthen myself. I couldn't wait to open the system shop. I've had my eye on a divine movement technique called Misty Shadow Wander, but with my current limited points, I can only buy the first volume. As for why not pick a family technique to cultivate? Since the system has been activated, why waste time learning? Isn't that stupid? Just exchange. Isn't it tempting? Phantom Stroll, Volume 1. After mastering, you can be as light as a swallow. Walk on snow without leaving a trace. Exchange price for 1,000 villain points. A wolf trains his teeth, a sheep trains his legs. Facing a second brother who is an unreasonable chosen one, I can only aspire to be the fastest man in the ancient wasteland. As soon as something feels off, immediately flee. Ding dong. Congratulations, host, on spending 4,000 villain points. Successfully exchanged for Phantom Stroll, Volume 1. Immediately, a figure appears before my eyes, moving rapidly with exquisite footwork. His form changes in a dazzling way, impossible to touch. One step closer to becoming the fastest man in the ancient wasteland. The next day, news of my breakthrough to the Kaiyuan realm spreads, like a thunderclap exploding throughout the Chin family. 3-year-old at the Kaiyuan stage. Absolutely unprecedented. Good. My son Chin Feng definitely has the makings of an emperor. Dad's excited laughter echoes through the Chin family. He couldn't help but shout to everyone he met. My son Chin Feng has the makings of a great emperor. I saw this and felt a wave of panic inside. In my memory, there was a villainous father just like this. He would constantly talk about his son having the potential of a great emperor. In the end, he successfully caught the protagonist's attention. Fenger, you're amazing. Mother walked over with her big belly. She affectionately patted my head. She was especially fond of this sensible and hard-working eldest son. She couldn't be happier. Since I was born, I had never given her any worries. Other children would cry and scream until their parents were at their wits' end. But I not only didn't cry or make a fuss, I even proactively reminded her when I was hungry or needed a diaper change. And as I grew up, I trained even more diligently. I was the textbook child from another family, the ideal child everyone compares their own to. I couldn't help but roll my eyes, screaming wildly inside my heart. A 3-year-old adorable child, training day and night for 3 years, breaks through to the first layer of the open origin realm, breaking an unprecedented record since ancient times. Is it a dream or a responsibility? No, it's because I have an unreasonable younger brother. I didn't want to be dragged into an early grave as an infant. Right when the family of 3 was enjoying a harmonious moment, Mother suddenly put on a mask of pain, with a churning agony in her stomach. At the same time, a violent wind began to rage outside, with lightning and thunder, dark clouds gathering, and the roars of dragons and cries of phoenixes echoing through the void. The originally hazy dragon and phoenix shadows also solidified. The lady is about to give birth. The Qin family, having learned from last time, immediately realized what was happening. Well-trained, maids began to busy themselves. Elite disciples stood on high alert to prevent anyone from threatening the future hope of the Qin family. I was so excited I could barely breathe, eager to meet my second brother. Father was also over the moon, both annoyed and delighted with this second child. Annoyed that he didn't understand his father's difficulties, insisting on delaying for 3 years. And delighted, of course, to have another fine son. I wonder if he has the potential of a great emperor. Boom! Thunder and lightning rumbled continuously in the sky. In the room, Mother's cries of pain rang out one after another. The second child showed no sign of coming out yet. The phantom images of a dragon and phoenix paced anxiously in the air. It seemed like something bad was about to happen. It's already the second child. Why is the birth still so difficult? I quickly realized the seriousness of the problem. I suspected that my second brother's kin curse aura had activated. Once the aura activates, friends and family meet their end. Boom! Another flash of lightning and roar of thunder, accompanied by a terrifying pressure descending. It felt as if a great mountain was pressing down on everyone. The difficulty of the birth increased once again. Who is it? Father was furious on the spot. Violent energy surged from within his body. The Qin clan disciples' anger bar instantly filled to the max. They gathered their energy to resist this pressure. But this pressure was truly too terrifying. Even all the Qin family members together were no match. Just when it seemed they could no longer hold on, the Qin clan also erupted with 7 or 8 terrifying auras. The second patriarch's cold voice followed. Old mudfish, are you trying to start a war with me? Haha, I was just testing the cultivation of these young lads. A white-haired old man in a dragon robe appeared in the sky. If not for witnessing his methods just now, his kind-eyed appearance would make it hard to connect him with ulterior motives. A dragon robe, the great Xia Emperor. I'm no longer that naive novice. In the past 3 years, besides training, I've also learned about the Ancient Desolate. The forces in the Ancient Desolate are a mixed bag. Great clans, sects, tribes, factions, and countless schools of thought. To expand power and fight for resources, various forces unite to form nations. The Great Xia Dynasty, the largest nation in the Ancient Desolate, is made up of countless great clans. The Qin clan is the most powerful, known as the #1 clan of the Ancient Desolate. It somewhat resembles the aristocratic families of the Sui and Tang dynasties. He is also a thorn in the side of the rulers. After learning who he was, it was hard to understand why he had acted that way just now. The Qin family had given birth to 2 prodigies in succession. How could the great Xia royal family not feel the threat? You must be the eldest young master of the Qin family, the great Xia emperor said, acting as if nothing had happened, descending from the air with a smile. When he saw me, he couldn't help reaching out to touch me. With a whoosh, I immediately used Phantom Swift, retreating quickly to maintain a safe distance. Given that he had just intended to kill my second brother, I didn't dare to get close to him. What if I were affected by my second brother's aura of bringing doom to relatives? Wouldn't I be done for? Is that a movement technique? The great Xia Emperor's face changed sharply. His mind unsettled for a long time. To a master of his level, my movement technique was nothing special. No matter how I dodged, he could kill me with a single palm strike. But the problem was I was only 3 years old. Breaking through to the Kaiyuan realm at the age of 3 was unprecedented. Can also master a movement technique so smoothly. This kid has the potential of an emperor. At the same time, he also thought of the blood moon from 3 years ago, which represented the birth of a prodigy. It was said that this prodigy's appearance foretold the decline of the nation. When vitality is exhausted, it feels like falling into hell, and was a potential threat to the great Xia dynasty. Could it be that that prodigy was the eldest son of the Qin family? When did he? Their father was stunned at first, then overjoyed beyond measure. He never expected that his precious son had learned a movement technique. Although it didn't come from the Qin family, he could still see its profound mystery at a glance. It was definitely a movement technique above the heavenly rank, comprehended from the laws of heaven and earth. Sorry, the child is shy with strangers. Several ancestors of the Qin family appeared and said perfunctorily, protecting me tightly behind them like a mother bear. It's fine, it's fine. The Emperor of Great Xia gave me a deep look, not knowing what he was thinking. At this moment, seeing that I had backing, I immediately show my true colors. So, Your Majesty, I've long heard your wisdom and valor, your noble integrity and selflessness, your perseverance and hard work, your unwavering loyalty and broad-mindedness, your righteousness and courage in the face of danger, your unparalleled excellence. Now that I see you in person, the reputation is well-deserved. I put on an exaggerated expression like I was meeting my idol and launched a series of flattering remarks. Then I changed the subject. Your Majesty, as someone so wise and mighty, when you visit someone's home, you wouldn't come empty-handed, would you? After saying this, Qin Feng blinked his big, innocent eyes, looking like a mere child, with no ill intentions at all. The Emperor of Great Xia couldn't help but twitch his eye. He realized this little brat was too clever for his own good. If he said he wasn't visiting the Qin family as a guest, wouldn't that be admitting he came to stir up trouble? With so many Qin ancestors present, that would be no different from courting death. But if he said he was visiting, he hadn't prepared any gifts. It's not like he's going to take out his divine equipment and give it away. Qin Feng saw that the other party didn't respond. He immediately let out an exaggerated gasp. No way, no way. The mighty Emperor of Daxia actually came empty-handed to someone else's home? The old ancestors of the Qin family felt immensely satisfied inside. They had no intention of stepping in to ease the situation. From the way he had recklessly used his pressure earlier, almost causing Yun Xie to have a difficult labor, it was clear that the Daxia royal family had already started targeting their Qin family. If not for the consequences of an abrupt war, they would have rushed up and beaten him until even his own mother wouldn't recognize him. At the same time, this incident served as a wake-up call. Some things must be planned as early as possible. Otherwise, by the time the royal family truly raises the butcher's knife, their Qin family would be in grave danger. How could that be? When visiting someone, of course I bring gifts. The Daxia emperor was extremely embarrassed by Qin Feng's words, seeing that no one from the Qin family was stepping in to help him. He could only force a smile that looked uglier than crying. Reluctantly, he took out a small wooden box. Opening it revealed 9 exquisite, finger-sized swords. Each sword contained an extremely powerful sword aura. The 9 swords of Skyrend, several of the Qin family's ancestors were visibly moved. They blurted out the origin of the 9 swords. These swords once belonged to a prodigy 10,000 years ago, the peerless Skyrend sword god. The swords are divided into 9, each capable of slaying immortals, killing gods, destroying Buddhas, subduing demons, vanquishing monsters, beheading saints, chasing souls, seizing spirits, and breaking armies. Each sword is a divine weapon rarely seen in the world, and united as one, they rank among the top 10 ancient divine weapons. They can also be separated to form a sword formation, with power rivaling 1,000 armies and 10,000 horses. But ever since the Skyrend sword god fell 10,000 years ago, the 9 swords were scattered across the ancient lands. Who would have thought that old mudfish had managed to collect them all? The emperor of Great Xia's face twisted in reluctance, unwilling to part with any of them. These 9 swords had cost him a great deal of manpower, material resources, wealth, and time to collect. Before he could even properly admire them, he had to give one away. But if he didn't give a sword, he would have to give away one of his own divine artifacts. Choosing the lesser of 2 evils, he sighed and decided to close his eyes and hand over one. The Great Xia Emperor, as if resigned to his fate, prepared to let Qin Feng choose one from among them. Moreover, he believed it wouldn't be long before this sword would return to his side, because the Qin family had produced 2 prodigies in succession, which not only threatened the imperial authority, but also shattered the balance among the noble houses. The world bustles, all for gain. The world hustles, all for profit. Now the pie was only so big. Once these 2 prodigies grew up, the resources obtained by other houses would inevitably be squeezed. How could the other houses be willing to accept that? But before the Great Xiao Emperor could even speak to let Qin Feng choose for himself, Qin Feng put on an innocent, harmless smile and snatched the small wooden box containing the 9 swords, not forgetting to say, "Thank you, Your Majesty, for bestowing the 9 swords." Although Qin Feng still didn't know the origin of the 9 swords, from the expressions of the Qin family's ancestors, it wasn't hard to tell. Good stuff? Adults have to choose. A child, of course, takes everything. The Great Xia Emperor hurriedly spoke up, wanting to clarify that he only meant to bestow 1 sword. But it seemed the Qin family's ancestors also had no shame, and immediately a barrage of flattery came pouring in. "Your Majesty is truly too generous. With a single gesture, you gift the sky spanning 9 swords. Your Majesty thinks so highly of our Qin family." This old man is moved to tears. "I wish I could become a woman and offer myself to you. Such a precious gift. I fear our Qin family cannot repay it. Your Majesty is a true dragon, a son of heaven, possessing the 4 seas. How could you care about such worldly possessions?" Exactly. Discussing money with your Majesty would be an insult to your Majesty. As the saying goes, a goose feather sent from afar is a token of goodwill. The gift may be light, but the sentiment is deep. We've shown our sincerity. That's enough. Your Majesty understands. From now on, the Qin family will follow the lead of your Majesty. If anyone dares to speak ill of your Majesty, the Qin family will be the first to oppose them. You brat, where are your manners? Hurry up and kowtow to thank his Majesty. Qin Feng obediently kowtowed 3 times, like paying respects at ancestors' graves during festivals. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host for exemplifying the villain spirit, taking a rare divine weapon from others without payment. Sky splitting 9 swords, gaining 1,000 villain points. Taking without payment? Who took without payment? Don't slander a good person. He clearly gave it to me. Qin Feng strongly condemned the system. If you don't know how to talk, then don't talk. This family, the Great Xia Emperor, was so furious he nearly exploded, realizing the Qin family had absolutely no shame, whether to prove his suspicion or because Qin Feng had tasted the sweetness. He again looked at him with an innocent face. "Your Majesty, have you heard of this rule of the Jianghu? When an elder meets a junior for the first time, they always give a gift." The Great Xia Emperor nearly spat out a mouthful of vintage 82 blood, claiming he'd never seen such a shameless person. It seems there is such a rule. The few Qin ancestors, eager to stir up trouble, were clearly ganging up on the rich today. Such thick skin, even the nearby Qin disciples felt embarrassed. Having lived in the Qin family for so many years, they never realized they'd missed the ultimate secret of the Qin clan. Qin Feng started exclaiming dramatically again. "Heavens! Heavens! The top power of the ancient times, the leader of the Great Xia Empire, can't bear to give a small gift to a junior. Damn it! Can this little bastard have some shame? If not for the presence of the Qin ancestors." He swore he'd beat the shameless little brat to death. The Great Xia Emperor regretted inwardly. He should have checked the almanac before leaving home today. He actually ran into such a shameless little creature. He had cheated him out of the long sky 9 swords and still wasn't satisfied, and even wanted to cheat him out of another item. But for the sake of his imperial dignity, he, feeling the pain, took a small jade gourd from his waist. On it were golden threads engraved with auspicious cloud-like runes. It looked impressive and high class. The celestial treasure gored the eyes of several Qin ancestors lit up. They silently exclaimed that the royal family was truly wealthy. This celestial treasure gourd was not an offensive or defensive treasure. Wearing it could calm the mind and steady the spirit. During cultivation, it could even prevent qi deviation and could also speed up cultivation and quickly consolidate one's cultivation base. Especially during battle, it could quickly restore mana. It could be said to be a treasure that cultivators dream of. But the cost of refining it was too high, and the success rate was too low. Even their Qin family did not dare to easily attempt refining it. The only 5 heavenly treasure gourds left in the family were finished products obtained from other channels. "Thank you, Your Majesty." Qin Feng stepped forward cheerfully, shamelessly pocketing the gourd. Ding dong. Detected that the host is helpful, taking care of the heavenly treasure gourd for someone else free of charge. Received 1,000 villain points. Qin Feng nodded with satisfaction, telling the system to talk more if it could. "No need to thank me. No need to thank me." The great Xia Emperor's smile was uglier than his tears, as he truly couldn't bear to part with the heavenly treasure gourd. But unfortunately, this was already the least valuable treasure he had on him. He couldn't possibly hand over the divine equipment he had painstakingly forged over the years to this kid. Wait a minute, this kid's look. Why is it so familiar? The great Xia Emperor's heart suddenly trembled. He noticed Qin Feng was again looking at him with an innocent expression, exactly like before when he asked for a meeting gift. Damn, how can a person be this shameless? He had already given him 2 treasures. Yet even that wasn't enough to satisfy this kid's appetite. A few of the Qin family's elders also felt a bit embarrassed. Cursing inwardly, they thought, damn it. Heart, virtue, illness, drift. Bold and bright, he swindled them out of 2 treasures in a row, and still had such a healthy appetite. It made them have to consider when they take Qin Feng to the great Xia imperial city, going door to pay visits. The surrounding Qin family disciples watched with envy, as if they'd learned a lesson. In the world of chaos, face is just an external thing. Ding dong. Detected that the host has corrupted the Qin family disciples. Received 200 villain points. What the hell, that works too. Qin Feng's eyes immediately lit up, as if a seasoned pervert had unlocked a new technique. At this moment, the great Xia Emperor was truly terrified of Qin Feng. Taking advantage of his daze, he transformed into a golden beam and shot into the sky. I suddenly remember, I have things to do. Your Majesty, I'll bring my second brother to visit you when I'm free. You don't need to be so polite. Definitely don't prepare any precious treasures. Just casually give me a few saint level or god level cultivation manuals. Just pack a dozen of those heavenly treasure gourds. That's enough. Let me tell you, I won't take any more. I'm just a child. I have no use for that many good treasures. Qin Feng came to his senses and shouted loudly in the direction the other person had left. Vaguely, the crowd seemed to see the golden light lose its balance. It almost lost control and fell from the sky. Such thick skin. Everyone present was utterly embarrassed, admitting they couldn't match that. Why are you all looking at me? Haven't you seen the number 1 handsome man of the ancient desolate? Qin Feng tossed his head proudly. He completely nailed that idol vibe. Fenger, you're still young. Let daddy keep this sword safe for you. Qin Tian stepped forward with a malicious smile. He snatched the small wooden box from Qin Feng's hand. As a divine weapon that could rank in the top 10 of the ancient desolate, no one could remain indifferent to the 9 swords of the long sky. Even the head of the ancient number 1 family can't do that. The Qin disciples around felt embarrassed. They never imagined Qin Tian was such a patriarch. Was that keeping it safe? He just covets his son's precious treasures. He keeps saying he loves me, but he snatches my precious treasures. Qin Feng acted like a drama queen. With tears in his eyes, he threw himself into the arms of an elder ancestor, seeking comfort. You worthless thing, snatching even your own son's treasures. The elder ancestor, feeling sorry for Qin Feng, picked him up and comforted him. He didn't forget to kick Qin Tian, helping Qin Feng get back the 9 swords of Skirich. It was equivalent to solemnly announcing to everyone that the 9 swords of Skirich belonged to Qin Feng. No matter how aggrieved Qin Tian, the cheap father, felt, the Qin disciples around looked on with envy. A 3-year-old child actually held a divine weapon ranked in the top 10 of the ancient world, and even wore a top-tier auxiliary treasure like the heavenly treasure gourd. If this got out, countless cultivators would die of envy. Boom! Thunder and lightning flashed across the sky again. The phantom of the dragon and phoenix rushed down fiercely. It charged into the room where Yin Xia was giving birth. No baby's cry was heard. Instead, a young maidservant ran out to report the good news. He's born. He's born. It's a young master. Mother and child are safe. Qin Feng's heart, which had been in his throat, finally settled down. The sudden pressure just now almost scared him to death. He was afraid that his second brother's curse of harming relatives would suddenly activate. Soon, the second child was cleaned up and brought out. Qin Feng stepped forward to compare. He looked exactly like their cheap father, unlike him, who inherited his biological mother's stunning beauty. But none of that mattered now. What mattered was that his second brother had fallen into his hands. Unlike when he was in the womb, he could now beat him up all day long. Woo-woo. The second child seemed to sense Qin Feng's presence. He instinctively became restless and uneasy. If he could speak now, it's not that he can't see me. He can't see me, which means he's telling you not to come over. This little one, the few Qin family ancestors couldn't help frowning. They sensed an unusual, mysterious aura from the second child, even though they had lived for thousands of years. For a moment, they couldn't figure it out. They would need to go back and look through ancient texts. Just as everyone was gathered around the second child studying him, Qin Feng finally found a reason to hit his little brother. Second brother, why aren't you crying? Could there be something wrong? Everyone also realized. Indeed, they hadn't heard the baby cry. It was completely different from other babies being born. Just as everyone was about to check, a small hand reached out. With a slap, a crisp sound of a palm echoed in the room. They saw Qin Feng raise his little hand and fiercely slapped it on the second brother's bottom. From the bright red handprint, one could tell. It was definitely from his biological brother. He didn't hold back at all. Wah wah, feeling his but being spanked, the second brother cried out loud and clear. How could you hit your little brother? Qin Tian scolded Qin Feng sternly, quickly picking up the second child to soothe him. I was just worried something might happen to him. Qin Feng's face was full of grievance, but inside, he was already overjoyed. Ding detected that the host spanked the chosen one's bottom, obtained 100 points. Ding detected that the host made the chosen one cry, causing him to release a wisp of primordial ancestral qi, equivalent to 3 years of hard cultivation, obtained 30,000 points. Ding detected that the host disrupted the chosen one's opportunity, obtained 1 chance to draw a lottery. Qin Feng was stunned on the spot, not understanding what primordial ancestral qi meant. The system spoke up to explain, a person is born by receiving the qi of heaven and earth, and there must be a portion of original qi nurtured before conception. So this is the so-called primordial ancestral qi. Refining it can equate to 3 years of arduous cultivation. After Qin Feng understood all this, a loud holy shit burst in his heart. If I had known this primordial ancestral qi was so damn awesome, I wouldn't have bothered showing off by screaming when I was born. Maybe this is the difference between a protagonist and a villain. But how did my younger brother know about this? Qin Feng looked curiously at his crying younger brother, suspecting if he might be the reincarnation of some powerful being. But after observing for several days, he didn't find any signs of intelligence in his brother. He was just like any other baby, eat, sleep, or crying nonstop. It almost drove his good-for-nothing dad crazy. He immediately gave up the idea of having a third child. Not every baby is called Qin Feng, but the way his mother looked at his father was clearly off. It was like the reason I married you was just to give you more sons to take revenge on you. That night, the candle flames crackled softly. Qin Feng, the good-for-nothing eldest son living in the adjacent courtyard, seemed to hear someone reciting a poem about geese. That day, Qin Feng was meditating cross-legged in his small courtyard, cultivating. Ever since he broke through to the first level of the Kaiyuan realm, his cultivation speed had slowed down again. The reason was that the 33 Heavens creation technique had fallen behind again. It was as if he had switched to a new car, stronger than the previous one, but the engine was an old model that couldn't keep up. He needed to comprehend the second level as soon as possible. Fortunately, my foolish little brother had been born. Now I can go all out without holding back. Qin Feng opened the system, which displayed 32,400 villain points. There was also one chance to draw a prize. According to the system, only by destroying the opportunities of the chosen ones would hear a chance to draw. The prizes inside were also extremely impressive. They were all god-level physiques, special supernatural powers, divine techniques, and divine skills. What would he pull out? Qin Feng was full of anticipation. He called out to the system to start. With a whoosh, a spinning lottery wheel appeared before Qin Feng. It was densely covered with prizes. Supreme Body, Heavenly Overlord Body. Warrior Same Body, Chaos Same Body. Double Pupils, Supreme Bone. True Dragon Treasure Art, Transformation, Free Heaven. Ding dong. Congratulations, host, you've drawn the heaven-slashing sword drawing technique. Boom! A thunderclap resounded in Qin Feng's mind. As if his soul had left his body, he arrived in another world. A black-clad figure appeared. Without any unnecessary words, nodded, drew his sword, and a crisp, clanging sound of the sword being drawn echoed through heaven and earth. A stunning sword light, transcendent and solitary, suddenly appeared. An icy coldness swept across the entire world. The sword light was as graceful as a startled swan, as agile as a swimming dragon, as if it would cut the sky in two. This terrifying sword strike was like a brand, deeply engraved in Qin Feng's mind, intoxicatingly captivating, from which one could not extricate themselves for a long time. So terrifying. After Qin Feng regained his consciousness, his entire body was drenched in cold sweat. True swordsmanship doesn't need to be flashy. When the sword is drawn, it can cleave the heavens and extinguish the earth. It also decides victory or defeat. But although the heaven-cleaving sword-drawing art is formidable, given Qin Feng's current cultivation base and age, even if he knew how to use it, he would not be able to unleash it. He needed to strengthen his cultivation and improve his physical constitution. He also had to hurry up and train. Qin Feng called out to the system in his mind. Exchange for 1 month of enlightenment aura. Ding dong. Congratulations, host. You have spent 30,000 villain points and successfully exchanged for 1 month of enlightenment aura. After 3 years, Qin Feng once again experienced that trance-like sensation of his soul leaving his body. In the past, there were many things about cultivation he didn't understand. Now he could easily figure them out. Just then, an old man appeared in Qin Feng's courtyard. Upon closer look, it was the 10th ancestor of the Qin family. By seniority, he was Qin Feng's great-great-grandfather, his father's own grandfather. As for his own grandfather, it was said he was out training, and no news had come back for centuries. Whether he was alive or dead was unknown, leaving the family in constant debate over whether to hold a funeral feast for him. My good great-grandson, your great-great-grandfather has come to see you. The 10th patriarch picked up Qin Feng with great affection, fond of this obedient, sensible, and hard-working great-grandson beyond measure. Ever since Qin Feng broke through to the Kaiyuan realm, the several patriarchs of the Qin family were both surprised and overjoyed. Their joy naturally came from the Qin family, gaining an extraordinary prodigy, while their surprise came from Qin Feng breaking through without anyone's guidance. An extremely dangerous act. If things went wrong, it could very well lead to his cultivation collapsing and his death. Thus, after discussing among themselves, the Qin patriarchs decided to send the 10th patriarch to guide Qin Feng in his cultivation. Guidance? Qin Feng felt it was completely unnecessary. After all, he possessed the complete version of the 33 Heavens creation art. The precautions are clearly marked above. As long as you practice according to them, there won't be any accidents. As for coaching him on martial skills and movement techniques, it would be better to lend him my second brothers, but for 2 days. No matter how difficult the martial skills and techniques are to practice, he can guarantee to learn them within 2 days. Cultivators must remember, never harbor pride. The 10th ancestor felt that Qin Feng had developed a sense of pride, prepared to give him a good lesson, to make him understand that there are mountains beyond mountains, and brothels beyond brothels in the path of cultivation. If you don't advance, you regress. The 10th ancestor took a deep breath, sinking his qi into his dantian, and stamped his foot hard on the ground. Several leaves on the ground bounced up and danced in the air. Then, With 2 fingers together, he pointed forcefully at the dozen-meter-high rockery, not far away. Swish, 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 the falling leaves instantly transformed into terrifying, deadly weapons. They directly sliced the 10-meter-high rockery into rubble. The 10th ancestor said earnestly, with deep meaning, "See that? This is the first heaven-ranked martial skill that your grandpa learned. Falling leaves dance." Back then, he had trained diligently at home for over 10 years without arrogance or impatience, finally reaching great perfection. The moment he stepped into the martial world, his name became renowned. He hadn't even finished boasting about his glorious deeds when he saw Qin Feng imitate him. First, he performed a synced chi into the dantian and stamped his foot hard on the ground. Several leaves on the ground bounced up and danced in the air. Then, with 2 fingers together, he pointed forcefully at a stone table nearby. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. One by one, the falling leaves shot out like steel shards, all embedding into the stone table. If it weren't for his cultivation being only at the first level of the Kaiyuan realm, he would definitely become a human cutting machine like the 10th ancestor. This technique required over a decade of hard training. Qin Feng didn't find it the slightest bit difficult. He felt that he could achieve great perfection in at most a month. He didn't know if it was because he currently had his 100-fold comprehension halo activated, or because falling leaves dance naturally carried a wuxiao vibe, which wasn't impressive enough in a fantasy world. Anyway, regardless of the reason, he truly didn't care for heaven-grade techniques. Still, spanking his little brother to exchange for divine-level martial skills was more appealing. At this moment, the 10th ancestor stood by in silence, indicating that he felt hurt. Especially Qin Feng's muttered remark, "This thing requires decades of hard practice," dealt him an unprecedented critical blow. "I need some peace and quiet," the 10th ancestor kept comforting himself. "Don't be angry, don't be angry. My own child, my own child." Ding Dong detected that the host shows no respect for elders. Obtained 100 villain points. How am I disrespecting elders? Qin Feng was instantly dumbfounded, suspecting that the system might have malfunctioned. Soon, the system provided the answer. Ignoring the advice of elders is showing no respect for elders. Qin Feng was at a loss for words. The last time he was this speechless was the last time. What era is it now? Still treating elders' words as imperial edicts? Are elders' words always correct? Forget it, it's the system. It's right about everything. Disrespecting elders? Fine, so be it. Remember, ignoring elders' advice brings happiness for years to come. Just then, the other ancestors of the Qin family walked past Qin Feng with stern expressions. Without looking back, they headed to the adjacent courtyard where his parents lived. What's going on? Qin Feng curiously followed them. Upon entering, he saw the ancestors surrounding his younger brother. They even took out several ancient books to compare with his younger brother. After a few minutes, the ancestors could no longer conceal their excitement. They raised their heads and burst into joyful laughter. Supreme Bone. That's right. That mysterious aura is the legendary Supreme Bone, 1 in 10,000. This child is a born supreme being. Heaven truly blesses our Qin family. With such a halo, Qin Feng instantly felt terrible. The chosen one is truly beyond reason. Ding dong. Congratulations, host, for triggering the epic mission of the destined villain. Dig out your younger brother's Supreme Bone. Reward: invincible double pupils. Qin Feng nearly spat out a mouthful of old blood. He increasingly felt that this system was not a proper one. But this was his beloved brother, his close kin. Brothers, the system tempted him. The Supreme Bone could be broken and reforged. It could grow back anew, break and reforge, regrow anew. Qin Feng couldn't deny his temptation at this moment. But he quickly shook his head in rejection. If he really dug out his second brother's Supreme Bone, his father and mother would surely flay him alive. The image he had built over the years would be destroyed, hurting the enemy 1,000, losing 800 to yourself. No, I need some peace and quiet. Qin Feng shook his head, putting aside thoughts of the Supreme Bone. Returning to his own courtyard, he began to cultivate. He had thought that after destroying his second brother's innate ancestral aura, he could relax for a while. Who knew the kid would unreasonably grow a Supreme Bone? He had to cultivate without a moment's rest, lest he be dragged down and lose his life. In the courtyard, Qin Feng sat cross-legged in cultivation. He instantly entered a meditative state. Unlike the insights of the first heaven, the second heaven was clearly much more complex. But the effect was also very obvious. Besides speeding up cultivation, his recovery ability also became stronger than before. At the same time, the Tianbao gourd hanging around Qin Feng's neck also flickered with a soft glow. It not only helped him calm his mind and prevent qi deviation, but also consolidated his cultivation at the first level of the Kaiyuan realm. Moreover, it accelerated his breakthrough to the second level of the Kaiyuan realm. It could be said that with this Tianbao gourd, his cultivation speed was at least twice as fast. What a fast speed to enter meditation. The 10th ancestor stood by, a look of surprise on his face. He was increasingly optimistic about Qin Feng. Qin Feng did not become arrogant because the 100-year fetal nourishment enhanced his potential, nor did he become complacent from comprehending a technique beyond the innate level and gaining a head start. He still trained diligently and hard. This child has a promising future. Spring passed, and autumn came again. 5 years had gone by. Qin Feng was 8 years old. After comprehending the second layer of heaven, his cultivation advanced by leaps and bounds like a cheat. In just 5 years, he broke through to the 9th level of the Kaiyuan realm, only a single step away from the transcendent realm. Unlike the Kaiyuan realm, which focused on opening the Dantian and granting lightness of body, the transcendent realm allows one to release spiritual energy outward, killing enemies from 1,000 paces away. At that moment, Qin Feng was sitting cross-legged in a bathtub, filled with a medicinal bath specially prepared by the Qin family to help him better temper his body and solidify his foundation. This was one of the perks of being born into a great clan. Qin Feng frowned in pain without realizing it, as he attempted to unleash his spiritual power. With a bang, a muffled sound came from within his body. As his body trembled uncontrollably, a terrifying current of energy burst forth from within him, sending objects in the room flying in all directions. He actually broke through. The 10th patriarch was stunned on the sidelines, staring blankly at Qin Feng in the bathtub, an 8-year-old in the transcendent realm, shattering the ancient records once again. But the 10th ancestor only paused for a moment before returning to normal, not because he had a heart cultivated for 1,000 years, but because Qin Feng's younger brother, Qin Hao, was even more monstrous. The record for the fastest breakthrough to the Kaiyuan realm, set by Qin Feng at age 3, had been shattered by him at just 2 years old. Now, though he was only 5, his cultivation had already reached the 5th level of the Kaiyuan realm, breaking Qin Feng's record for the fastest breakthrough to the Transcendence realm before age 8. Would be almost too easy. Neither of these brothers was normal. The 10th ancestor's confidence took a severe blow. He felt that compared to these two brothers, he had completely wasted his life. Roar! Qin Feng stood up and let out a loud cry, releasing his spiritual power to shatter the bathtub. Although he was only 8 years old at the time, he was already about the same height as a 12 or 13-year-old child. At such a young age, he even had 8 perfect abdominal muscles, his whole body exuding a wild explosiveness. The first thing after the breakthrough, it's just to beat up his younger brother. Although his dad is my dad, his mom is my mom, his ancestors are my ancestors, it doesn't affect me beating him up at all. Over these 5 years, he often used sparring as an excuse to pin his younger brother to the ground and rub him in the dirt repeatedly. He earned villain points like crazy, filling his pockets to the brim. Now, he already has over 240,000 villain points. But this guy is really unreasonable. Now fighting is getting harder and harder. Clearly, he's only at the 5th level of the Kaiyuan realm. Yet he can make him, at the 9th level of the Kaiyuan realm, feel strained. It also made him understand the terror of great perfection. It truly is an invincible existence at the same level. Regarding this, he also asked the system if there is any way to reach the Great Perfection Realm. The system's answer was also very simple. Just buy a Great Perfection Realm card and use it. The price isn't expensive either, only 1 million villain points. In order to complete it as soon as possible, beat the younger brother while he's young. This child, the 10th ancestor, rubbed his forehead in exasperation, knowing that another great commotion was about to follow. However, he made no move to stop it. The younger brother hadn't lost confidence in the face of defeat. Instead, he trained even harder, even though the older brother had one, will also continuously spur themselves to work hard. A virtuous cycle like this. They are happy to see it. The eldest young master, the Qin family disciples, saw Qin Feng and greeted him with smiles. But when they felt the unstable fluctuations of qi around Qin Feng, shock waves immediately arose in their hearts. Are you kidding? He really broke through to the transcendent realm? In their understanding, even geniuses who break through to the transcendent realm are at least 15 or 16 years old. In the ancient wasteland, they can already make their debut, and the more powerful ones are even somewhat famous. But now Qin Feng has achieved it at 8 years old. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, who would believe it's true? Monster. A Qin family disciple swallowed hard. He was stunned by Qin Feng's talent. Qin Feng paid no attention to the crowd's shock. He just wanted to quickly find his second brother and beat him up. In the end, relying on 5 years of experience, Qin Feng successfully found his second brother at the main gate of the Qin residence. He saw a little kid lying asleep on the crooked neck tree at the Qin family's gate. Sure enough, here he was. Qin Feng suspiciously circled the crooked neck tree once. In his memory, his second brother often slept lying on this tree. If it were another child, he would think it was just playfulness. But facing his unreasonable second brother, he always felt there was some incredible great opportunity in it. The more ordinary something seemed to others, often it was exactly the key for the protagonist to turn the tide against all odds. Could it be that I'm overthinking? Qin Feng stared for a long time, but couldn't see any mystery. His gaze unconsciously shifted to his second brother, who was sleeping. In others' eyes, it might seem like a peaceful and quiet appearance. But in his eyes, he always felt that his second brother was seducing him to dig out the supreme bone. Originally, my dream was to become a wealthy playboy, living a life of debauchery, a life of luxury and excess. But it was precisely because of this little thing that he had to work hard to cultivate and protect himself. The more Qin Feng thought about it, the angrier he got. He raised his hand high. With a loud smack, Qin Feng's hand landed heavily on Qin Hao's little bottom, startling the little one awake instantly. Seeing Qin Feng, instead of getting angry, the little guy happily called out, "Brother!" Even if his brother spanked him 1,000 times, he still loved playing with his brother. For this, Qin Feng's heart was in a panic. As everyone knows, the sweeter the childhood memories, the more tragic the death later on. Apart from the female lead, the protagonist interacting with anyone else, the faster one leaves. When the time comes and the halo opens, the king of hell smiles, and it's here. Little brother, big brother, let's go out. Qin Hao looked at Qin Feng with eyes full of expectation. He hoped Qin Feng would take him out to play. Go out to play? Qin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes, implying that he was overestimating himself. As the future hope of the Qin family, the Qin family protected them, the two brothers, from all angles without any blind spots. At 8 years old, he had never even left the Qin estate. Of course, he had no need to go out. It wasn't that the Qin family's ancestor didn't allow him to go out, but rather that the Qin estate was simply too vast. The reason the Qin family could become the #1 ancient clan, apart from relying on the ancestors' protection, was also that the Qin family had a population of millions of bloodline members, all living within a single city. Coupled with a family philosophy of martial inheritance, it ensured that every member of the Qin family had some level of cultivation. Only then was the title of the premier ancient clan forged. If there were no special circumstances, there was no need to leave the Qin family at all. It was precisely because the Qin family's martial power was too great that the true ruler of the eastern part of the Great Xia dynasty was the Qin family. For those who made a living here, they might not know the Great Xia royal clan, but they absolutely could not afford not to know the Qin family. This was the drawback of the royal clan and noble families sharing the realm. "Brother," Qin Hao said pitifully, tugging at Qin Feng's arm, trying to achieve his goal by acting pitiful. Unfortunately, Qin Feng wasn't falling for it all. If it had been a little sister instead, he might have wavered. However, just to let his second brother have a complete childhood, he still nodded and agreed to his request. He told him to wait for him outside the city first, while he went to inform their mother. Great! Qin Hao, still ignorant of the dangers of human nature, skipped away happily. Mother, second brother has run away from home. Qin Feng instantly transformed from a gentle big brother into a manipulative little schemer. He dashed in the house to tattle to Yun Xie. Ding dong. Detected the host slandering the chosen one. Received 200 villain points. The guards around stood emotionless. They had long grown accustomed to this. Over the past 5 years, Qin Feng had a whole array of tricks to set up his little brother. If they guessed right, soon the eldest young master would even hand the lady a feather duster. Before long, Yun Xie stormed back, dragging Qin Hao like a chick. She was fuming. Qin Feng instantly turned back into a gentle big brother. He stepped up, looking worried, and explained, "Mother, please don't be angry. It was me who promised to take little brother out to play. It wasn't little brother trying to run away from home." MHM. Qin Hao nodded his little head repeatedly, his eyes full of gratitude toward his big brother. But the more Qin Feng spoke like that, the less his mother believed him. Think that the eldest brother feels sorry for the younger brother, doesn't want the younger brother to get hit later, voluntarily takes the blame upon himself. She really can't understand. Clearly, they are twins born from the same parents. How can the difference be so huge? The eldest has been sensible and obedient since childhood. The second one is mischievous all day long. He is the kind of brat who needs a beating every 3 days or he'll tear the roof off. Can't you learn from your brother? All you know is being mischievous all day. Yun Xie goes into strict mother mode and gives Qin Hao a lecture. But she didn't notice. That Qin Feng, behind her, made a face at his younger brother, causing a 5-year-old child to endure a joke that was too much for his age to handle. Haha. Finally, he couldn't help but burst out laughing, making Yun Xie, who was almost over her anger, suddenly get riled up again. She starts brainwashing herself over and over. This is my son. I am his mother. I can't get angry at him. I can't hit him either. If he cries, I'll have to comfort him. If I hurt him, I'll have to treat his wounds. It hasn't been easy raising him to this age. He's the one I almost died giving birth to. If he makes a mistake, it must be my fault. I haven't been diligent enough in teaching him. It's my lack of ability. It's my lack of proper methods. Spare the rod, spoil the child. Spoil a child with indulgence, and you raise a rebel. Patience brings peace and open skies. But the more I step back, the angrier I get. If patience is exhausted, there's no need to endure. If not to erupt in silence, then to perish in silence. I can no longer control the primal force within me. Seeing Qin Hao still grinning foolishly, Yun Xie admitted her mental conditioning had failed. Mother, second brother is just a child. Qin Feng quickly played the good guy and stepped in to stop her. But he happened to be holding a willow branch in his hand. Move aside. This mother must teach him a good lesson today. Yun Xie, in a fit of anger, grabbed a willow branch. She couldn't calm down without giving that brat a couple of lashes. The willow branch made the surrounding guards' expressions shift slightly. It was different from the feather duster they had guessed. Just as Qin Feng was waiting for the villain points to be credited, suddenly, strains of music came from the sky. From afar, a grand procession could be seen approaching. 9 massive beast mountains pulled a luxurious chariot. The escort behind them also rode beasts, flying through the air. If +10 enhancement made things glow, then this procession was at least +20 enhanced. The Lin family of Tianxin City. Qin Feng recognized their origin at a glance. They were the absolute rulers of the western part of Daxia. Unlike the Qin family's clan-style rule, the Lin family of Tianxin City was a feudal lord. They recruited many talented individuals to serve them and commanded 1,000,000 armored troops, firmly controlling the western region of Daxia. I'll deal with you later. Yun Xie glared at Qin Hao. She pulled the brothers home. Meanwhile, the sound of welcoming bells and drums echoed through the Qin family city. Tens of thousands of powerful Qin family disciples went out of the city to welcome the distinguished guests from Tianxin City. They also took the opportunity to showcase the Qin family's profound heritage. Qin Feng and his brother were also dressed in formal attire by Yun Xie. They accompanied their chief, Father Qin Tian, personally to welcome them outside the city. Unlike his usual goofy demeanor, today, Qin Tian exuded an overwhelming aura of dominance. Standing there, he was like an invincible war god. Brother Qin Tian, it's been many years. I missed you so much. A middle-aged uncle in splendid robes stepped down from the carriage. Upon seeing Qin Tian, he immediately went over warmly for a hug. He clearly looked like a sly old fox. "Brother Lin Hao, I missed you too." Qin Tian let out a hearty laugh. It was hard to tell how much sincerity was in it. These two are brother Qin Tian's children, the twins born 3 years apart, right? After a round of pleasantries, Lin Hao's gaze fell on the brothers Qin Feng and Qin Hao. The reason he had traveled such a great distance to the Qin family was precisely for these two brothers. To be precise, the Qin family wanted to form an alliance with Heavenheart City by choosing one of these brothers to be betrothed to his precious daughter. Ever since the Qin family produced two prodigies in a row, and the brothers continuously broke ancient records, the great Xia royal family had become thoroughly anxious to secure the stability of their imperial power. They began contacting major clans to move against the Qin family. For its own interests, the Qin family had no choice but to seek allies. Indeed, this is the eldest, Qin Feng, possessing the potential of an emperor, and the second, Qin Hao, who has the 1 in 1,000,000 supreme bone. Qin Tian introduced his two fine sons with great pride. For other families, producing a single prodigy is already a blessing from their ancestors. But his family has produced two unparalleled prodigies in succession. As for the supreme bone, it has been recorded in ancient times. Whether the potential of an emperor is real or fake is unknown. At Sunder, a little girl walked out from behind Lin Hao. She is the little princess of Tianqin City. Lin Exener, though only a 6 or 7-year-old little girl at the moment, has eyebrows like emerald feathers, skin like white snow, waist like a bundled silk sash, teeth like contained shells. One look, and you can tell she will grow up to be a beauty. Exener, don't be rude. Lin Hao scolded her, telling her to mind the occasion. But that Sunder, a little girl, never cares about the occasion. Her gaze at Qin Feng was full of provocation and hostility. She even raised her hand and snapped her fingers, summoning a young man with a delicate face, a teenager of 14 or 15. "He is my newly acquired servant. Lin San, dare to fight him to prove yourself?" Lin Exener shot Qin Feng a provocative look. Lin San Qin Feng sized him up curiously. He noticed that this man had an extraordinary bearing, far from being an ordinary small-time character. He was Lin San of Skyheart City. Whispers immediately arose from the crowd. They had clearly heard of Lin San before. It was said that his talent was terrifyingly formidable, and his swordsmanship was equally impressive. Some experts had even commented on him, calling him the #1 swordsman in 100 years. Ding dong, a chosen one has been detected. Great, epic. Qin Feng's eyes lit up. He was overjoyed in his heart, because Qin Hao was his own younger brother. He could never go all out in fights with him, afraid he wouldn't be able to explain things to his parents. As a result, it took him over 5 years to earn just 240,000 villain points. Now, meeting someone unrelated to him by blood, he could finally have his fill of a good fight. If he remembered correctly, his second brother was also an epic grade chosen one. At this moment, the parents on both sides exchanged awkward smiles, but neither made any move to stop it. Although Lin Hao had come here to form an alliance, he certainly didn't want his daughter to marry a useless man. Qin Tian, eager for the alliance to succeed, naturally hoped his promising son Qin Feng would show off his strength. If he lost, it wouldn't matter much. After all, he was only 8 years old, while his opponent was already 13 or 14. Moreover, the opponent's cultivation had reached the 3rd level of transcendence. But if he won, it would be a huge show of face. All right, then I'll just play with him for a bit. Qin Feng understood his father's intent, and it suited his own wishes perfectly. A thick aura of energy surged around him, and the fallen leaves on the ground slowly floated into the air. 1st level of transcendence. The faces of Lin Hao and the other expert from Skyheart City all changed, and they exclaimed inwardly, "This child has the makings of an emperor, an 8-year-old in the transcendent realm. Unprecedented, especially his ability to make leaves float." If they weren't mistaken, this is the signature technique of the Qin family's 10th ancestor. Falling leaves swirl in the air. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, who would believe a child so young could master such a skill? At the same time, Lin Hao finally understood why the Daxia imperial clan had been targeting the Qin family lately. Once these two youngsters grow up, couldn't they replace the imperial clan at any time? Please enlighten me. Lin San said, strictly following martial ethics. He even remembered to warn him before making a move. But he clearly overestimated Qin Feng's sense of honor. Facing a chosen one, he never dared to be careless, nor did he ever follow the rules of combat. What's more, his opponent's cultivation was 2 levels higher than his. Before Lin San could react, Qin Feng pointed his finger in a gesture, and the falling leaves instantly transformed into sharp cutters, flying rapidly toward Lin San from all directions. Hey, do you have any sense of martial ethics? Lin Xin anxiously condemned Qin Feng's behavior. Not saying a word before attacking is one thing, and he even goes all out with his ultimate move right from the start. That's truly shameless and despicable. With a clang, Lin San leisurely draws his sword. He thrusts the sword forward, the blade gently trembling, creating a faint sword shadow. The sword is like flowing water under the moonlight, lightly striking down the incoming falling leaves. The leaves shatter into pieces. Another thrust of the sword. A sharp sword aura surges forth, causing the incoming leaves to lose their guidance and fall. Lin San's figure darts in and out among them. With a bang, Lin San swings a blade of light, breaking Qin Feng's technique of falling leaves. Even though his entire sequence was a bit of a show-off, he still ended up with a few scratches on his body. His heaving chest also proves that the sword strike cost him a great deal of energy. Good opportunity. Following the principle of taking advantage while your enemy is down, Qin Feng seizes it. With a mysterious step, he executes the phantom stroll. In an instant, he rushed in front of Lin San, giving the other no chance to react. A fist as big as a sandbag slammed into the other's face. Lin San let out a miserable cry, and his body flew out. Brother awesome. Qin Hao cheered, waving his arms and dancing with joy, celebrating his brother's victory in advance. But this behavior of his made Lin Xin quite displeased. She shouted loudly to cheer Lin San on. Ding dong. Congratulations, host, for punching the chosen one. Received 200 villain points. Seeing the villain points credited to his account, Qin Feng immediately became full of fighting spirit, ready to continue the fight for an entire day. But he clearly underestimated Lin San's combat power. Before he could even start his combo, the other quickly stabilized his stance. His body shot out, like a swan skimming across the sky. In his hand, a dark, water-like sword light flickered. Sword intent, Qin Tian and the others exclaimed. In their hearts, they couldn't help but call him a monster. Sword intent is something every sword cultivator dreams of comprehending. Once comprehended, one's swordsmanship power will rise several levels. It greatly enhances one's combat ability. Not good Qin Feng also sensed the power of this strike. He didn't plan to face it head-on and quickly dodged. But Lin San had already broken free from his initial passivity. Coupled with being 2 minor levels above Qin Feng and the advantage of sword intent, he swung his sword as lightly as a breeze, sending out streaks of sword shadows to assault Qin Feng. Even though Qin Feng's phantom shadow stride technique was extremely subtle, he was still like a small boat sailing through giant waves, at constant risk of being capsized. Well done, Lin San. Teach this brat a good lesson for me. Lin Xin clapped and cheered happily from the sidelines, not forgetting to stick out her tongue at Qin Hao in disdain. Brother, keep going. Qin Hao's face flushed red with anger, shouting at the top of his lungs to cheer Qin Feng on. The others paid no attention to the 2 little ones. They were already stunned by these 2 children. They asked themselves when they were 8 years old, they couldn't break through the transcendent realm. And at 13 or 14, they couldn't comprehend sword intent. The waves behind drive on those before. Everyone in the audience let out an unspoken sigh in their hearts. They knew that an era of great contention was likely upon them again, whenever these prodigies emerged in droves. It marked the day for the ancient world to reshuffle. At that moment, Qin Feng had no mind to ponder any era of great contention. All he wanted was to figure out how to beat this kid and earn villain points. Damn, is this what it feels like for a villain to be suppressed by the protagonist? Qin Feng was beaten back again and again. He was completely on the defensive and utterly unable to fight back. There was no choice, the atmosphere had already been set. He couldn't afford to lose face here. He could only resort to his ultimate move. calling System Daddy to exchange for the second volume of Phantom Stroll. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host for spending 10,000 villain points to redeem the second volume of Phantom Wanderer. 10,000 points. Qin Feng's heart ached terribly. How many days would he have to beat up his junior brother to save up 10,000 points? He was now one step further away from exchanging for the great perfection. No way, I have to get those points back by beating Lin San today. Qin Feng's body moved along with the figure in his mind, swaying like a gentle breeze amidst the dark, watery sword light, effortlessly flying several hundred meters away. What? The entire crowd's expressions changed drastically. They realized that Qin Feng's movement technique had broken through mid-battle, and his speed was noticeably faster than before. His footwork was also more profound than earlier, easily dodging the dense sword light swung by Lin San. Good. My son Qin Feng has the potential of an emperor. Qin Tian couldn't help but laugh joyfully. Almost wanted to grab a megaphone and shout it in Lin Hao's ear. Impressive. Lin San revealed an unprecedented serious expression, knowing that he couldn't defeat his opponent without using his true skills. His clothes fluttered without wind, making a flapping sound, the dark, watery blade light in his hand swaying in the breeze. The air tore apart, letting out a series of mournful wails. Qin Feng also sensed that Lin San was about to unleash his ultimate move. He raised his hand and shouted into the void. Sword, come. A clear sword cry resounded through the city where the Qin family resided. 9 beams of sword light streaked through the void like shooting stars. Lin Hao and the others, being connoisseurs, recognized the 9 swords of the void. They blurted out the origin of the 9 swords. They had also heard that 5 years ago, the great Xia Emperor came in haste and was tricked by the shameless eldest son of the Qin family out of the 9 swords of the void and the celestial treasure gourd. They had thought it was just a rumor, but they didn't expect him to be truly shameless. He insisted on carrying 9 swords on him to embody the word shameless. 9 swords combined into one. Qin Feng quickly formed a hand seal. He pointed at the 9 flying swords. With a hum, the sword wind surged back. Dust rolled as the momentum of the 9 swords grew even fiercer. Sounds like roaring angry waves echoed through the void. When the sword wind ceased, before Qin Feng, a long sword shimmering with cold light floated. This was the personal sword of the sky-spanning sword god from 10,000 years ago. Also one of the top 10 divine weapons of the ancient era. The sky-spanning divine sword. Ever since obtaining the sky-spanning 9 swords. Over 5 years, with the help of the 10 ancestors, Qin Feng successfully refined the sky-spanning 9 swords. Though he dared not claim to replicate the former glory of the sky-spanning sword god, nor did he have the strength to fully master the sky-spanning 9 swords. But using them in battle was still no problem at all. The sky-spanning 9 swords, Lin San's eyes burned with fervor. His breathing became rapid as well. No wonder the sword techniques he used were from the sky-spanning sword god of 10,000 years ago. More accurately, he had obtained the inheritance of the sky-spanning sword god. If only he could obtain the 9 swords of Chongkong, he would surely be able to recreate the divine swordsman's glory of yesteryear. However, he also knew that the Qin family was not to be trifled with. Outright robbery would be no different from seeking death. He could only bide his time and wait for an opportunity. Even if you have the divine sword's blessing, you would still be no match for me. Lin San had absolute confidence in the legacy of the Chongkong sword god. Amidst the flying dust, he suddenly struck out. A dazzling streak of sword light tore through the void, stirring waves of upheaval. The Chongkong sword art, a divine level sword art that the Chongkong sword god had comprehended from the laws of heaven and earth. With it, he could slay gods in his path and kill Buddhas that blocked his way. Riding across the ancient wilderness, none could stand against him. At this sight, both Qin Tian and Lin Hao were major powers in their own right. So naturally, they recognized the Chongkong sword art at a single glance. Even the Chongkong sword god from 10,000 years ago would never have imagined that 10,000 years later, his own sword art would face his own personal blade. Not good. Qin Tian's expression changed dramatically. He wanted to step forward and stop it. Although his dear son Qin Feng had the potential of a great emperor, He was only 8 years old after all. How could he withstand the sword technique of the sky, soaring sword god? But before he could say anything, he saw his dear son Qin Feng's eyes turn sharp and fierce, assuming a stance to draw his sword. Heaven-slaying sword-drawing technique, he nodded to himself. Drawing his sword, a crisp, metallic sound rang through heaven and earth. A stunning sword light, transcendent and solitary, suddenly appeared. An icy chill swept across the entire scene. The sword light was as graceful as a startled swan, as agile as a swimming dragon, as if it would cut the sky in two. What kind of sword move is that? Everyone present was well experienced and knowledgeable. Yet none of them had ever seen Qin Feng's move. Could it be self-created? No flashy tricks whatsoever. Only an invincible strike that pursued absolute perfection. When the sword is drawn, it can cleave the heavens and extinguish the earth. It was enough to decide the victor. Boom! The two sword lights collided heavily together, erupting with a deafening roar, accompanied by a terrifying storm of energy that swept outward. Mother, Father Qin Hao, and Lin Xi, due to their lower cultivation levels, clung to their parents' clothes to avoid being blown away by the wind. Impossible. Lin San's eyes widened in shock, unable to believe that an 8-year-old child could master such a sword technique. He had thought that with his superior cultivation and holding the inheritance of the Long Kong divine sword, as well as comprehending the sword intent, defeating an 8-year-old brat would be a piece of cake. But who would have thought the kid would teach him a lesson, making him realize that his sword was not the strongest? With a loud bang, the sword in Lin San's hand shattered on the spot, unable to withstand the sharpness of the Long Kong divine sword. He had the Long Kong sword art, and Qin Feng also had the sky-severing sword-drawing technique. He had sword intent, while Qin Feng had the Long Kong divine sword. His cultivation was 2 minor levels higher than Qin Feng's. But Qin Feng had the emperor-level talent 10-fold boost, plus the heavenly treasure gourd to restore mana. How could he not win? What? Lin San's face was full of disbelief. He had actually lost to an 8-year-old child. Throughout his journey, he had always triumphed over stronger opponents. His invincible mindset had gradually formed. But today he was defeated at the hands of an 8-year-old. A crack immediately appeared in his invincible mindset. He fell into self-doubt. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host for making the Chosen One's invincible mindset develop a crack. Gain 100,000 villain points. A crack is worth 100,000. If I stab him right in the heart, wouldn't I get hundreds of millions in no time? Qin Feng was now full of fighting spirit. His footwork shifted unpredictably like the phantom stroll. The sword in his hand struck toward Lin San's chest like a ghostly apparition. If you love him, stab him in the heart. Not good. Even though Lin San's invincible mindset had begun to form, he was still just a kid of 13 or 14. After being taught a lesson by Qin Feng, his rhythm was thrown off. He was being beaten back step by step for every additional sword scar on his body. Qin Feng's affection for him grew. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host for injuring the Chosen One. Gained 500 villain points. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host for injuring the Chosen One. Gained 500 villain points. Because Qin Hao was his own younger brother, he had never fought with such satisfaction as today. My big brother is the best. Qin Hao proudly lifted his little head, wishing he could tell everyone that this was his brother. Lin Xi was so angry on the side that she stomped her feet. She wanted to rush up and beat that brat, but Yin Xie picked her up instead. She had grown quite fond of this little girl. The outcome is decided. Brother Qin's son truly has the potential of an emperor. Lin Hao laughed heartily and waved his hand. Just as Qin Feng was about to stab him in the heart, he pulled Lin San back with a swift motion. No way Lin San was hailed as the #1 sword of the coming century. How could he let Qin Feng stab him in the heart here? Qin Feng was very displeased with Lin Hao's move. He had taken his score booster away, just like that. But he didn't say much about it. One must know that the Chosen One is a mysterious creature. If he insisted on keeping him, it would definitely trigger some kind of powerful rescue attribute. Better to quit while ahead, to avoid causing trouble for himself. Haha. Qin Tian heard someone praising his good son, and couldn't help but laugh out loud. He knew that the matter of alliance and marriage was as good as settled. The welcome ceremony continued. Qin Tian led Lin Hao into the Qin family city. rows of Qin family disciples with profound cultivation, made Lin Hao extremely envious. If he had a choice, he would rather spend more resources to cultivate a blood relative than to cultivate someone who had no relation to him, unless this person was absolutely loyal to him. But loyalty or not, who could say for sure? Soon, both sets of parents began discussing the marriage of their children. They thought Lin Hao would choose Qin Feng, who had just displayed the bearing of an emperor. But to everyone's surprise, he actually chose Qin Hao, who had been standing by watching, as a son-in-law. Damn it! Qin Feng swore on the spot upon hearing this. This gave him a whole new understanding of the chosen one's irrationality. A battle fierce as a tiger. But in marriage talks, there's no place for me. However, Qin Tian and Yun Xie exchanged glances. They too felt extremely surprised. Logically, Qin Feng had just proven himself with his strength. What 8-year-old child could possess such terrifying combat power? On the other hand, although Qin Hao had a 1 in a 10,000 supreme bone, it had not yet been activated, so no one knew what his actual combat power was. Lin Hao just smiled at this. He did not intend to explain. The reason he chose Qin Hao, it was absolutely not a random choice. It was a decision made after weighing the pros and cons. As everyone knows, Qin Feng and Qin Hao are twin brothers. Their talents wouldn't differ too much, from the fact that elder brother Qin Feng had just broken various records. Yet younger brother Qin Hao could immediately break them. It was evident that younger brother Qin Hao's talent was clearly slightly superior to elder brother Qin Feng's. Given that both received the same education and grew up in the same background, he naturally leaned toward the younger brother who possessed the supreme bone. Most importantly, there had been persistent rumors circulating in the desolate ancient realm lately that the blood moon prodigy born 8 years ago was Qin Feng, who was also a major thorn in the side of the great Xia royal family. Investing in Qin Feng carried too much risk. It was safer to invest in his younger brother, Qin Hao. If something really happened to the Qin family one day, Qin Hao would have no choice but to be completely loyal to their Skyheart city. All right, Qin Tian didn't ask too many questions. After all, his goal was to form an alliance through marriage. As long as the two rulers of the eastern and western parts of Great Xia joined forces, even the Great Xia royal family, along with other noble houses, would have to consider the consequences. As long as they could buy the two youngsters time to grow, the Qin family would come out on top. In the end, with mutual understanding between both families, a marriage alliance driven by self-interest was decided. But at that moment, the two parties involved were completely unaware. Lin Xner was touring the Qin family city with the two brothers, accompanied by that Lin San. I feel like I'm going to die at any moment, thought Qin Feng, a destined major villain, walking alongside two epic-level chosen ones. Even within the Qin family city, protected by tens of millions of Qin family clansmen, he still felt utterly unsafe, terrified that they might activate their plot armor at any time and send the whole family off neatly packaged. Wow, it's so lively here, Lin Xiner couldn't help but exclaim. They arrived at the Qin family market. Unlike the mortal markets selling vegetables, this was a market for cultivators. It sold immortal herbs used for cultivation, as well as treasures like pills, talismans, and magical artifacts. Since the Qin family was the absolute ruler of the eastern region of the Great Xia dynasty, the safety of the Qin family city was beyond doubt. Every day, a large number of external cultivators came here to trade. The Qin family also needed these trades to strengthen their clan disciples. Thus, such a free trade market gradually formed. Qin Hao and Lin Sen's eyes both lit up at the same time, their gazes simultaneously fixed on a small, worn-out cauldron. Qin Feng also perked up instantly, as if a seasoned pervert had unlocked a new technique. Rather than worrying about being killed off by these two chosen ones, it's better to use their absurd luck to find treasures. For two chosen ones to focus on it at the same time, that small, worn-out cauldron must be no ordinary item. I saw it first. Qin Hao and Lin Sen stared at each other, eyes wide. No one was willing to give up the small cauldron. But just as they were locked in a stalemate like two fighting birds, Qin Feng, acting as the fisherman, asked the seller, "How much is it?" Originally 1,000 spirit stones. If the young master wants it, how about 888 spirit stones? The vendor carefully stated the price, while not forgetting to watch Qin Feng's expression, as if he would immediately lower the price if Qin Feng frowned. No help for it, the Qin family being the local power, who would dare not show respect. 888 spirit stones? Passing cultivators stopped in their tracks, exclaiming that the vendor must be crazy for money. After all, the value of a single spirit stone could let an ordinary person live comfortably for a lifetime. A cultivator can absorb it to equal a week's hard cultivation. Now, this broken little cauldron dares to be priced at 888 spirit stones? At this moment, the vendor also grew nervous. He absolutely did not intend to make Qin Feng pay through the nose. It's because the origin of this small broken cauldron is truly extraordinary.